there, ghosts and ghouls. Warlock Boo here, and I got y'all some more Tales from the Gas Station by Gasstationjack. This is part 3. Enjoy. There are times when the world drifts so close to the fabric of reality that I can hear something calling me from beyond the veil. Sometimes, when I get too close, I can feel that thing on the other side tugging at the corners of my mind. I'm worried about Carlos. He doesn't seem to be taking this so well. When I returned to work after the post yesterday, I was delighted to find a stack of receipt paper sitting neatly on the register counter with notes written in my own shaky handwriting. I don't remember writing all of these notes, but then again, I don't remember a lot of things. It is possible that I'm working too hard. Maybe the fumes coming from beneath the gas station are playing tricks on me. Perhaps it's just another side effect of my condition. At any rate, I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, or any other animal in any other Orpheuses, for that matter. Admittedly, my handwriting isn't the best, and at times the scratches on the receipt paper become nearly illegible. So if anything here seems unbelievable, it's probably because I copied it wrong. With that in mind, this is my best efforts at a transcript. 7 o'clock. It's getting dark earlier these days. 7:30. Farmer Jr. came into the gas station tonight asking about the hand plants. I told him that there weren't any more. He left his phone number scribed on the back of a coupon for 15% off bulk pig feed from an online retailer. I think he's trying to send me a message. 9. I think maybe some kids are playing a prank on me. I found a lawn gnome behind the pork rinds. I don't think much about it, and I put him in a box behind the counter. But then I found another matching lawn gnome in the soda case. I added this one to the box as well. It wasn't until I noticed the third and fourth lawn gnome that I started to suspect something. I had taken out the garbage and found the gnomes perched on the branches of a tree next to the dumpster, staring down at me like gargoyles. I used a chair and a broom to knock them down. I put them in the box with the other 3. When I got back to the desk, I found a note on my trio written in red ink. It simply said, "I'm in the walls." I don't know who wrote it, but the paper smells like orange and plumery. 10 o'clock. There's a strange scratching noise coming from the tiles above the cash register. I fear Rocco and his brood may have infiltrated the building again. 11 o'clock. Farmer Jr. called the store. He asked about the hand plants. I assured him that there weren't there anymore. If he ever showed up again, I would call him. I think he's beginning to suspect that I'm lying. 12 o'clock. One of the cultist recruits wandered into the from the community in the woods. They hate it when I call them cultists. I know the recruits aren't supposed to interact with the outside world, but from time to time they sneak into town, never any further than the gas station, and buy cigarettes. They aren't supposed to try and recruit new members until they graduated to the honorable senior cultist status. This one guy isn't a very good cultist. I know they aren't supposed to have names, but I'm going to call him Marlboro. I'll let you guys guess why. Marlboro stayed in the store for at least half an hour, trying to convince me to go back to the compound with him. They hate it when I call their home a compound. He tried to appeal to my logical side, but I let him know politely, but firmly, I was not interested in logic. I can't remember when he left. 2 o'clock. I found myself digging again. Sometimes on slow nights, I let myself drift. My mind goes somewhere, and when I come to, I wonder, where was I just now? Who was controlling my body while I was gone? My body did those things I've done so many times before that I guess it's learned how to do them without me. My body restocked the cigarettes. My body rotated the frozen drink machine. My body scrapped the mold off the bottom of the ice buckets. My body emptied the rat trap. And somewhere along the way, my body found a shovel, went out back, and started digging a hole. Actually, I shouldn't have said my body started digging. My body has been digging this hole off and on for the last few months. Usually, I come to after a few shovelfuls. This time, I added another foot deep before I snapped back to reality and asked myself, what the hell am I doing? 3:30. I just noticed the door at the end of the hallway past the walk-in cooler. How long have I worked here and never noticed that door before? It seems disappointingly ordinary as far as doors go, except for the fact that it's warm to the touch and feels like vibrating. I tried the handle, but it's locked. When I got back to my register, I noticed a man in a trench coat staring outside beyond the gas pumps, just outside the reach of the light, dangerously close to the road. I can't tell if he's looking at me or if he's looking past the building at something in the woods on the other side. I wish he wouldn't stand there like that, stoic and still, with his arms reaching down past his knees. The screeching against the tiles in the ceiling over the counter is getting louder. 3:45. Man came into the store, rolling a large white ice chest behind him. He had sunken blue eyes, wiry hair coming from his nose and ears, long bony fingers, and a paper-thin skin revealing every blue and green vein beneath the translucent grimace. He wore a bowler cap and smelled like milk. I had definitely never seen him around here before. He asked if we would be interested in partnering up with him. He sold ground meat of discounted prices, but I told him that the store doesn't do well with fresh food category, recommending he try his hand at making jerky before he left. He scooped around the pound or so of raw ground meat from the ice chest into a piece of parchment paper and gave it to me as a sample. Once he had left, I took the meat into the cooler, where I found another lawn gnome waiting for me. I put the gnome in the box with the other 7. 4 o'clock. Carlos just told me something very strange about Kiefer. There was this kid, 4:30. There was a kid named Spencer Middleton who went to the same high school as me and Kiefer. Spencer was just a year ahead of me, but looked much older and acted much younger. I lived in a small town, and small towns get bored. For entertainment, some turn to gossip, some turn to more sinister pastime. Later often fueled the former. There were rumors around that Spencer liked to torture and kill animals. Rumors of Spencer's parents and siblings always locked their bedroom door when they weren't to sleep at night. The rumors didn't slow down any after the fire at the Spencer house, where Spencer was the only one to escape unscratched. I once saw Spencer gleefully stomping a lizard, throwing his head back and laughing. Some short time after his house caught fire for the second time, Spencer left town. The story went that he had gone off and joined the army. I didn't know what to think about this, so I simply think about it. I don't think about it. I would have been perfectly happy to never think about that. But after these years, I'm forced to because Spencer Middleton just came into the store about a cup of coffee. He's sitting in one of the booths talking to Kiefer. Marlboro is bad. He asked if I could spare some time to talk about his fake religion. They hate it when I call it a fake religion. I told them that he had to leave. He seemed upset. 4:45. Spencer and Kiefer sat around for a while. They didn't buy anything but 2 cups of coffee. When they finally left, I let Carlo know. He had been hiding under a blanket in the walk-in cooler, although I can't really understand why. Carlos explained to me exactly what had happened. He finished his shift a couple nights ago and had left the gas station when he saw Kiefer's SUV pulled over in a ditch on the bottom of a hill. Carlos, being a good guy he is, decided to check and see if Kiefer needed any help. That's when he pulled up and got out of his car. He could hear what sounded like a loud crunching noise coming from just beneath the tree line. Carlos went to investigate. That's when he saw something. When I asked Carlos what he saw, he just started speaking in Spanish in fast, panicked sort of way. I didn't speak Spanish, but I nodded along empathetically. The only words I could pick up were Straga, which is the name of a liquid we carry. Whatever it was that Carlos saw, it made him race back to his car as fast as he could and back up quickly without looking, and that's when he ran over Kiefer. Carlos is a good guy. But here he was in the bad situation. He stopped long enough to get out, check on Kiefer, and confirm that he was definitely dead. There was nothing he could do that would change that fact. It was an accident. Carlos was on parole. There was that thing in the woods, and Carlos had to make a decision. So he heaved the body into the trunk of his car and drove off. Carlos took me to the car and showed me the body. I can confirm 100% that it was Kiefer in the trunk of his car. Not just because of his unmistakable face, but also because of his phone and wallet were in his pockets. 5 o'clock. I finally got tired of the scratching and pulled our ladder out of the storage to see what the raccoons were doing in the ceiling. When I pulled it back of the tile, the only thing that was up there was another gnome. That makes 1 dozen so far. 6 o'clock. The man in the trench coat is still outside. The cultist came back in, demanding an audience with me, insisting that if I would just listen to him, I would see that his reassuring is superb and flawless, and that I would be a fool not to join him in his perfection of logic and nirvana that is his belief in structure. I agreed to listen to his pitch. If he would agree to ask the man in the trench coat to leave, our hastily verbal contract in place, I steeled myself to listen. Honestly, he did make a few good points, but I suppose that's to be expected from a viral thought experiment strong enough to convince perfectly normal people to abandon their real lives and go live in a commune in the woods past a shitty gas station on the edge of town. And they call themselves mathematists. They believe that humankind exists to fulfill two moral improbations: to decrease suffering and to increase happiness. A successful life increases happiness more than suffering. A decent life decreases suffering more than happiness. How good a person is can determine by the spread between the happiness increase and the suffering decrease. Obviously, the individual has a negative spread. That is, if they've increased happiness less than they've increased suffering, or if they've decreased suffering less than they've decreased happiness, then that means very simply that the individual is bad. Therefore, if an individual causes a tremendous amount of happiness and suffering, one can simply determine which was higher and use the preferred rubric to determine whether the individual was good or bad. Simple, right? Mathematists believe that the world has been going about good and bad in the wrong way. For eons, we've been attempting to increase happiness when instead we should have been focusing on decreasing suffering. As happiness is a fluid concept, and the more happiness you create, the harder it is to sustain. As happiness has a clear set of diminished returns, suffering, however, is consistent. Suffering results from happiness coming to an end. Suffering is pure and eternal. For a mathematist to be a supremely good, they must simply end all suffering. This is why the mathematists are working on a bomb to destroy the entire planet. By ending all life on Earth, they end the infinity of suffering in the future. With every life and avert an entirely lineage of people that would be born into a life of suffering will no longer. Every death is a primitive mercy killing. Every happy moment that will no longer occur pales in the face of the sad moments that will likewise be prevented. And so, as Marlborough explained, their murder cult believes that killing is kindness. I told him that his ideas were stupid, and he was stupid, and that now he had to go tell the man in the trench coat to go away. 6:30. The phone rang. This is strange for two reasons. First, because it was not the landline. It was the cell phone, even though we do not get cell phone service way out here. And second, because it was the cell phone, the one I took off Kiefer's body. I'll admit, I was stuck for a bit of a moral conundrum ever since Carlos confided in me. On the other hand, Carlos had killed someone. On the other, it was an accident, and Carlos' parole officer may not see it that way. I thought I would have more time to figure it out, but when the cell phone started ringing, I knew I had to make the decision. I answered it. I didn't speak first. The voice on the other line was one I recognized. "You have something that belongs to my boss." It was Spencer Middleton. "His cell phone and his wallet?" I answered. "What? No! We don't care about that shit. We can buy more phones. We can get more wallets. You know what we want." He was right, I did. "It was an accident," I explained. "We know. We want to make a deal. You give it back, and we pretend this whole thing doesn't happen." "Can we do that?" "Absolutely." 7:30. Carlos came in for a shift half an hour ago, and I explained the deal to him. He wasn't thrilled, but as I laid out very, very clearly, we doesn't have a choice. We parked Carlos's Camaro behind the gas station near the growth of hand plants, and made a point to stand far enough away to not get our ankles grabbed. Kiefer's FUV drove up. A few minutes later, Spencer was driving. He and Kiefer got out without a word, sized us up, and opened the back of their vehicle. Carlos popped his trunk. Kiefer and I stared at each other, keeping an eye contact the whole time, while Carlos and Spencer transferred the body from one vehicle to another. Spencer had a tarp and a blanket ready to wrap everything up. When it was over, Kiefer put a hand on my shoulder and whispered in my ear, "You done good." Then they left. Carlos started crying as I went back inside the store. It was almost daytime. and that's when the new part-timers were supposed to take over. 8 o'clock. The new part-timer's late, and I'm overdue for a lunch break. I made the best of my extra time here by putting price stickers on all the lawn gnomes, ringing them up as miscellaneous groceries for $9.99 each. I've already sold a couple. I'm a really good employee. I went to the bathroom and saw a man standing there with his jeans on his ankles. He wore red and checkered boxers and a cowboy hat. He smiled when he saw me and simply said in his somewhat sing-song voice, "Come on it, man. Come on it with it." I took the opportunity to ask him something that had been burning in the back of my mind. "Do you know, is everything going to be okay?" The bathroom cowboy took a second to think. Then he pulled up his pants, fastened his enormous belt buckle, and walked past me, spurs clinking against the bathroom tile. He stopped for a second when he was right next to me and said plainly, "I appreciate it." Then he left. I have honestly no idea what that means. There are entries on the receipt paper, but I did make a point to continue keeping this journal. I think this will be a healthy way of chronicling the weird adventures at the gas station. Maybe this will even help with my condition. I don't know. The next time something strange happens, maybe I'll come back and write more. Until then, I guess this has to be continued. Edit. Sorry, upon further inspection, I realized that there were some scribbles on the receipt paper may have been transcribed incorrectly. Also made some adjustments to the spelling and fixed some typos. While I was at it, I added another typo just for the obscure reader. Lastly, upon the advice of some of my readers, I removed the part where I listed Farmer Jr.'s social security number and address. Also, special thanks to the readers that pointed out the Darga isn't even a Spanish word. I'll ask Carlo about it when he comes in for his 4th shift today. Carlo simply looked at me blankly and told me he doesn't speak Spanish. So, my ghoulies, what did you think of part 3? Hope you enjoyed it, because next week I should be back with part 5, or the week after. Depends on how my scheduling goes. But if you want to hear more of these, hit that subscribe button so you can hear the next parts. But until then, this has been Warlock Boo, hoping to be spoken y'all later. Bye.